Welcome, I am Lara. This is Theatre of Science. We decided, if you're watching this, we decided in the chat on hot air balloons yesterday that you need a name too, and the top one so far is the Science Alliance. Welcome to the Science Alliance. Birds! It's a big garden bird watch. Let's just make a bird. Let's just make one. Let's do it straight away. I've got so many bits of scrap paper around from my notes. What you need to do is turn your A4 paper into a square. Do you know how to do that? Where you fold from one corner to another corner like this. Science is my thing. I usually let other people do the crafts. This feels dangerously like crafting. So I'm sorry, if I go too fast or too slow, you can just shout at me in the comments. You know how to do that, don't you? You fold a corner over so that it goes against the other side like that. I'm not explaining this well. And then you cut that bit off and then it's a square. Yeah? You're all right, aren't you? You're good at this kind of thing. Cut that bit off, but keep it. Science Alliance. There were some more. Lara's llamas, no. But there were some other good ones. Right, so you've got a square. Cut that bit that you've got left over, the little rectangle, cut it in half. I think that'll do. Intriguing. There we go. And then get a bit of sellotape, right? Get quite a big piece of sellotape, like a couple of inches long, and put it to one side. It's my dog Asta's birthday today. Whenever I see dog pet shout outs, I'm like, there's probably someone come to this. Hello Mary, whose idea this was. Probably some people come in who don't get shout outs, and they're like, she said the name of someone's guinea pig. She shouted out a dog birthday and she didn't say my name. Sciencinos, that's good. Jessica, too fast. Wait, okay. So you've got a square of paper. You've got a couple of bits of sellotape on the side. And then the little rectangle of paper that you had left over, you've cut it into two, all right? First thing we're going to talk about is bird flight. Because birds flying is quite a big part of it, isn't it? Although, I didn't realise this. Obviously, flying uses an awful lot of energy. Like, birds are quite amazing that they've evolved to get into the sky. They've evolved to fly for all kinds of reasons. Maybe there was, like, flight, kind of like the way that giraffes evolved to have long necks to get leaves from the trees. I'm going to stand like this so you know what I've done. Birds might have evolved to fly. Some of them might have evolved to fly because there were flying insects around and they could get more food if they could, jump a bit higher and the ones with bigger wings, or like sort of that were born with like slightly bigger arms, could jump a bit higher and then they started flying. Some of them obviously learned to fly to get away from predators. But yeah, it's obviously very unusual to be able to fly because it uses up an awful lot of energy. I didn't know that if a bird flies to like an island, say, where there aren't many predators and they don't have to fly to get away from predators and there's lots of food on the ground, they stop flying really quickly. Like literally, maybe if a grandparent landed on an island, laid some eggs, the grandchildren probably wouldn't fly at all. And within a few generations, literally would not be able to fly. Like their flight feathers would be a bit fuzzy, their muscles, come on, you've definitely done this by now, haven't you? I'm going to end up doing the whole show just stood like this. Turn a bit of A4 paper into a square, okay? Like that. Or just cut a square. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just use the A4 paper, all right? And you need a little strip of paper like this as well. Right, I'm moving on. Because if you thought that bit was complicated, whew, this bit's going to blow your mind. Right, you might have already done this. Fold your square of paper in half so you have a triangle. Comme ça. You got that? Yeah, little big bird beak. Their beaks are made out of the same stuff that your fingernails are made out of. More on that later. You folded that into a triangle, then what you're going to do is you're going to get one side of the triangle and kind of roll it so that it gets to the middle. What? That was really confusing. Look, I'll show you. Just watch. Stop panicking and messing around with sellotape. Just watch this, okay? Fold it over like so it's a strip about that long, okay? See, like that. Thank you, Bastian. Done. Good. And then fold it again and fold it again, and fold it again. This is awful. Do you know, my kids go to some really good classes, like where they craft, and they're and they're much nicer than me. They're not like, why haven't you done it yet? Look, it's just like this, just do it. This is why I stick to science. Well, mine's gone a bit wonky, but look, you're basically just doing that, okay? You're rolling it up. See? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? It's quite clear. Because sometimes people... Oh, why can't chickens fly high? Very good point, very good point. What a great question. Yeah, well, they can't fly high. Someone's saying because they clip their wings. Actually, quite a few birds can't get very high into the air. So wing shape is a massive issue with birds. Like, real bird experts could look at the shape of a bird's wing without knowing anything about it, be able to tell you loads about how that bird lived. So chickens, obviously, flying uses a lot of energy. So there's quite a lot of birds that have developed the ability to kind of fly enough to get away with predators, but don't really need to fly a lot. And yeah, chickens are one of those. So I don't think it's a bird, I don't think it's a wing clipping thing. I think it's just like a lot of birds. They needed to be able to get a bit of distance from a predator, but they don't have to get into the sky because their wings are actually sort of designed for that. They can lift off very fast, whereas some birds take some loads of effort. You see swans like faffing around, don't you? I think for quite a long time. Chickens take off fast, but they don't go far. Right, so you should have something like this. Got that? Thank you, Jessica. Done. You all right with this, aren't you? There you go. So I've got that. A few years ago, we saw chickens who hadn't had their wings clipped fly up into the trees and roost. Oh, of course, that's what they do, isn't it? Yes, Louise, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, they get up. They can get up to trees. They don't like fly across oceans, do they? Okay, so I've unravelled it now, which might have confused you, but if that's to show you what I've done. I've rolled it up like this. Okay, right there, my Science Alliance. You've got this little rectangle of paper, all right? Liz, I haven't done anything, please start again. There are 360 households here, Liz. You can always watch this back later. I'm going to fold mine once more so that it looks like a little paper hat. Hens can get 4 feet. Thank you, Leon. Far enough to roost in trees. And then what you do is you roll it up. Show you. Oh, then I can show off my cool bird dress as well. What you're going to do is you're going to roll it up so that you've got what looks like a little bishop's hat. You want the hole to be about the size of a toilet roll. Zoe and Oscar, loving the bird show, that's good. I wasn't thinking the craft would take this long, but I think I'm going to tell you everything I know whilst making this. Quite nice, isn't it? Nice chilled out Saturday morning. There you go. So you want something that looks like that. Are you okay with that? Exactly, Colette. You can watch it later. Now, what you do after that is, you okay with that? Yeah, so that's the rolled up bit there, see, inside. So far so good, says Mary. Good. That's good, Mary. We'll be judging this harshly because she wants to learn about birds. Then you get your little rectangle and you put it on the back of the bishop's hat. All right, Poppy and Oliver, of course you can have a shout out. Okay, so we've made a triangle of paper with a long bit at the bottom that I'm going to call the heavy bit. We've rolled it up. Thanks, Emma. Just a little reassuring thumbs up there. Folded it up like that. That's the front of the bishop's hat. That's the back of the bishop's hat. Put your little rectangle of paper over the top like that. And then wrap sellotape around it. Okay. And then, regulars know that I can't have my children overhearing me do this, or I'd immediately have a 2-year-old in here and bless her, she would not leave. But I am going to sneak out in a minute and lob this thing down the stairs to show you what happens. Yeah, so it kind of looks like a bird, doesn't it? It's got a little tail here. It's got wings here. What you have made, if you finish that, oh yes, I folded it inside, is a really terrible model of a bird. It's just not a good model. So in science, model means something that explains how something works. Does this explain how a bird works? Well, we've made our heavy bit at the front, and a bird's head is only 1% of its body weight, so that's not great. our tail's sort of upside down, isn't it? The bird's tail usually is used as a rudder, essentially, for steering around. And this one obviously can't move, which isn't great. The main thing, has anyone clocked why this isn't a good model of a bird? It's because it's a glider, isn't it? It's so birds use energy. They flap their wings to get into the sky. While everyone's finishing that off, I'll hold it for you. If you've finished that already, what I want you to do is give yourself some space, stretch your arms out and make a flapping motion like a bird. Be as accurate as you can. How do birds flap their wings? Have a go. Do it. I'm not going to do it because I know now how to do it. Yeah, I would have certainly done like this. Or done this. Yeah, that's not how birds fly. Because, because people who come to my home ed class know about Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what happens is the bird pushes down, okay? The bird pushes down on the air. And Newton's third law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If a bird pushes down on the air pushes up on the bird. And that is one of the things that gets a bird into the sky. But if the bird was doing that, then it would push down and the air would push up, so it would go up. But then it would, when it came up, its wing came up again, it would push up and the air would push down. It wouldn't go anywhere. And it'd just be like sitting on the ground. They've got like elbows. So they do sort of what you do if you ever done a breaststroke. You know how you push the water out wide, but then you like fold them in again. You don't do that to swim, do you? It wouldn't make any sense. Birds do the same thing. They flap down like that, and then they kind of fold their wings in a bit like that, so that they get more downforce, so more air pushing up on them than is pushing down on them. Now, if you've got a brain like me, you listen to that and you go, yeah, but so what about butterflies? Butterflies don't have elbows. Butterflies definitely do that. Why aren't butterflies just hovering around? Well, sorry, I said I'd hold that up. It's because you'll never get this. It's a great quiz question. Butterflies can contract their whole bodies. So their wings don't move. They do flap like that, but their bodies kind of go. Never done a bird butterfly impression. Now's probably not the time to start. But yeah, they contract their whole bodies. So they do have more of a pushing force downwards than when they come up again. I know, right? Shall we go and chuck this down the stairs? Now I've told you why it's not a very good model. So there are birds that do just glide around. So vultures, famously, extremely big. Like, there is no way that vultures could have muscles strong enough and energy to fly around. So it's a bit of a myth. You might have heard if you see vultures circling, it means that there's a carcass, there's a dead body of something on the ground and they're circling because, or maybe that is a famous thing with vultures, isn't it? That like they wait for things to die so that they can eat them because they're very useful birds. They eat dead things. Like one way of getting rid of them, isn't it? But actually, no, it's not. It's that vultures fly on thermals, like warm air that rises. So they're just circling because, like, what else are they going to do? That's how they're staying in the air. There you go. Vultures, another misunderstood bird. Sorry about this. I'm not apologising to you. We're renovating. It's about the science, not about my whole weight. Okay, are you ready? You can do this too. Go to the sort of the top of the stairs. I knew that was going to happen. Let's use the second one. The tail is a bit off. Is that going to make a difference? Wow. Okay. That's interesting, isn't it? That's the one that I made really fast that wasn't very good. Oh, that was pretty good. And because I was worried that it might go wrong, I made two more. So let's do those ones. This one's a bit smaller and a bit heavier at the front. All those people who couldn't make it are just like, paper airplane would have been better anyway, you loser. Oh, come on. That's pretty good, isn't it? They're pretty good. We live in a van and we have no stairs. Sorry, I did mean to say probably quite a lot of you don't have stairs. Just give it to the tallest person and make them chuck it. Stand on the van. I don't know. Excuse me. Right. Let's talk about bird bones. Is this gross? I found some bird bones on the floor the other day and I thought, oh great, I'll show them to the guys. I have washed them. Look, they are hollow. Look, this is a bit gross, isn't it? Is it any different to picking up a feather, really? Can you see that? I mean, I think this might have been a sparrow. If you know about birds, whoever owned this feather also owned this little bone. But aren't they teeny tiny? So we've been talking about the forces acting on a bird. Weight is pulling everything. Everything that is made of stuff has a weight, which is a force, which is pulling them down to the ground. So birds want to weigh as little as possible, so it takes them less energy to get off into the sky. So one of the ways that they do this is to have hollow bones. Now, I've actually found a scientific study which says that bird bones aren't actually lighter than normal bones. But they're actually denser. That means like their particles are even closer together. So I guess what it is they've evolved in an amazing way that their bones are actually stronger and like denser than normal bones. But to kind of compensate for that, so then that doesn't make them really heavy, then their bones are also hollow. So actually, you see a lot of people saying that birds have light bones. It's not really true. It's just that they've made the bones that are there even super heavier and super stronger, because obviously there's a lot of force on those wings, and the inside's hollow to compensate. There you go. Right, I said we'd look at feathers a little bit. I'll link afterwards to this beautiful website that I found that tells you all about the different feathers. We won't go into it too much, but some of you have feather collections. So this one is a little downy feather. The feathers that the birds have really close to them are for insulation, to keep them warm. So, well, we know that because we stick them in duvets, don't we? And feather pillows. So they trap air, so air doesn't circulate, warm air doesn't leave them, and cold air doesn't take its place. That's how energy sort of gets away from your body. So these ones are for insulation. If anyone's thinking of a career in science, phyllo plumes need some work. They're a mystery. We don't really know what they're for. These ones are mainly for insulation. Bristles, this is in my magazine and I try not to repeat information that I send to the patrons, but bristles, if you look at a photograph of a bird, the bristles are around their beaks. And they serve all different kinds of purposes, the bristles. The woodpecker, it stops them getting sawdust in their beaks, apparently. And the tail feathers, these are the flight feathers. These are sort of the most important ones, certainly for flight, because they're nice and strong. And like I say, they can use them as a rudder, they use them for steering, they're very strong. If you want, I'm just going to show you it. I made these little, I drew this little diagram so that I could tell you the bits of the feather. It's probably easy just to show you it. So feathers made of keratin, same stuff that your fingernails and your hair are made of. This bit of the feather is called the vein, like weather vane, not like you're so vain. This bit is the rachis, which is one of my new favourite words. Oh no, actually my favourite bit, the favourite thing I learned, I think, is at this very bottom fluffy bit of the feather that is kind of annoying because it makes the feather look a bit messy. It's called the after feather. I don't know why, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. Right. Oh, and yeah, if you want to get into your real details, again, I love this sort of thing. This bit's called the rachis, but the bits coming off that are the barbs, and the bit coming off those are the barbules, and the bit coming off those are the hooklets. The words just get cuter the smaller the things get. Right, so we've done feathers. Right, time's getting on, isn't it? I said this was going to be half an hour. We will quickly, because hopefully a lot of you have been predicting the top 10 birds that people see. We'll go through the top 10 and then it's story time about the most boring bird, TM. Right, here we go. So, number 10, did you get the 10th bird is indeed the magpie. So, I was thinking, like a lot of people, that the magpies, like, they're quite evil, they eat eggs, they sort of bully the other birds. The RSPB is very clear on this. They do eat the eggs from nests of other birds, but that is totally natural. And songbirds, birds that make beautiful songs, like, you know, robins and all that, their numbers are going down. And magpie numbers are going up. Magpies are not endangered. Now, does that tell you something? No, it doesn't! Stop jumping to conclusions, everybody, and do the science. The RSPB did the science. And although magpie numbers are increasing and songbird numbers are going down, that's not related. Like, they looked at areas where there weren't that many magpies and the numbers were still going down. So, had to change my mind about magpies. They're just doing what they do. They're not the problem. Number 9... Oh, I've put an exclamation mark because they're my favourites. They're so cute. Number 9, jumping in. Number 9 wasn't in the top 10 last year, but then the Big Garden Birdwatch last year A lot of people saw Longtail tits in their gardens. They're super cute. This amazing Matt Sewell book that you should all buy, partly so that he doesn't sue me, but partly because it's brilliant. He says that they look like tiny clouds in tracksuits. Once you've thought about them wearing tracksuits, you will always recognise them. And obviously they've got these really long tails. Beautiful. In at number 8, number 8. Did a whole Christmas show on this. I was trying to persuade you that they weren't that great, but it's the robin. Best fact about the robin is that they feed other birds' chicks. If they pass a blackbird chick in a nest that looks a bit hungry, they'll just give it some worms. So I had to change my mind about robins. They're quite angry, they fight each other, but they're also super generous and cute. Number, what are we on? It's a 6. It's the great tit. Right, not to be confused with number 3, which was the... Come on, you know. What does it look like? The blue tit, right? That's a blue tit. That's a great tit. If you're looking at your birds today or tomorrow, don't get these confused. The great tit's a bit bigger and it's got a black hat, right? That's the main thing to remember. It's got a black hat, the blue tit is bluer, and it's got a blue hat. So that was the great tit, right? In at number 6, Goldfinch. Never seen one before in my life. Aren't they beautiful? If you see a goldfinch, lucky you. Number 5. What's number 5? I can't remember. This is exciting. It's a blackbird. Blackbird. Females and younger ones are brown, so don't get them confused with thrushes today. Number 4. Drum roll. It's the wood pigeon, not to be confused with the feral pigeon. Do you know why feral pigeons are around? Those like horrible manky pigeons that are everywhere. We domesticated them. So in the olden days, before the farming was very popular, the ways that you kept food around all year was you had a pond full of fish and you had a dovecote. We didn't even really need to domesticate pigeons. Like, you didn't even have to feed them, apparently. I think it started off in Canada. If you just like put a little shed in your garden, they'd just come and live. They'd go out and get food and then they'd come back and live in your shed. And then when it was winter time, you didn't have much food. Pigeon pie, there you go. But anyway, that's not this bird. The wood pigeon is a sort of bigger, fatter, kind of calmer type of pigeon. So don't get it confused with the town pigeon. All right, three more, is it? It's number 1. Oh no, I've showed you number 3 because it was the blue tit. Number 2, the starling. This is the one that murmurs. You see those incredible clouds of starlings like flocking around, making these amazing shapes. These ones are becoming very endangered, so don't get the statistics of the birdwatch. They can be a bit confusing. People are seeing them in their gardens, but actually numbers are really going down. And number 1, you guessed it, didn't you? It's the sparrow. It's the house sparrow. The name of the book, thank you, Miriam. It is Our Garden Birds by Matt Sewell. He doesn't really go into the science, but what he does do is explain them in a really beautiful way that you'll never forget. This one being a very good example, because I used to always get these confused. This is the house sparrow. The house sparrow is, it's not a nice phrase, is it? But it is the most boring one, isn't it? It's been number 1 in the Great Garden Birdwatch for 17 years. And Matt Sewell has taught me how to tell the difference between the house sparrow and the tree sparrow, right? The tree sparrow lives in the countryside and is quite shy. The house sparrow, I won't tell you too much because it's the subject of story time, but it just follows humans wherever we go. Because the tree sparrow lives in the country, it's matched its little tweed suit with a little tweed hat as well. Isn't that nice? It's got a little flat cap on because it lives in the countryside. Whereas the house sparrow, like a leathery Brit that's been in Ibiza, Thailand, Goa for too long and lost his way, come home. So there you go, that's the difference. Right, doesn't that lead us nicely on to the subject of today's story time? Imagine, please, you are in a field, beautiful sunny day, you're having a picnic with a friend. What noise would you make? What would you do if you heard a rustling in the bushes and out popped a little owl? So little owls, UK's smallest bird. You can see them in the day, but they're quite rare, obviously. About 20 centimetres tall, brown. What would you say? You'd be like, dude, wait, stop, shh, whatever you're saying, stop, look, oh my goodness, get your phone out, amazing. Okay, what about, you heard a rustling in the bushes and out pops a wren. Oh, it's one of the UK's smallest birds. Tiny little dumpy thing, really loud voice, hopping about on its spindly little legs. They're actually the most common bird in the UK, but they tend to live in places where humans don't go. They hide in the undergrowth. You don't see them a lot. Maybe you wouldn't tell your friend, but you'd probably look at it and think, ooh, the cutie. Right, what if there was a rustling in the bushes and it was a sparrow? You wouldn't even bother to move your eyeballs in that direction, would you? You literally wouldn't notice. Why not? Because they're common. So as Rob Dunn says in Smithsonian Magazine, humans love what is rare and despise what is all around us. Common animals are at best boring and at worst, pests. And sparrows are one of the top 10 most common birds in the world. The winner of the most common bird in the world being, of course, the chicken. So our disinterest in sparrows is particularly sad because they love us. It's a relationship that goes back a really long way. So about 10,000 years ago, humans stopped hunting as much and they started farming. And sparrows just thought this was a brilliant idea, so they popped along. They started eating our rice, our grains. They tried to balance on the little stalks and snapped them. As the idea of farming spread like across the world and across history, sparrows just followed the farmers wherever they went. And even to this day, like you've maybe got sparrows nesting in your houses. A lot of them do. We have found sparrows on the 80th floor of the Empire State Building. We found sparrows 600 metres underground in a mine in Yorkshire. This is absolutely true. The miners apparently used to feed them because I guess the sparrows were a lot rarer down there, so the miners really liked them. Sparrows have even learned to open electronic sliding doors. The proper biologist from a university studied sparrows outside a bus station. There was a cafe inside the bus station with scraps that the sparrows wanted to eat, and he noticed that the sparrows had learned that if they hovered near the door or tapped it, then the doors would open and the sparrows could get in and eat all the scraps. And they did this 16 times in 45 minutes. And what have human beings done, to repay sparrows for their love? Well, not so much now, but even after World War One, sparrow pie was very popular in the British countryside. The Victorians actually did have a soft spot for sparrows because, like travelling all around the world and taking over other people's countries was quite a lonely business. So the sparrows used to go with the Victorians. They would take them with them to be like their garden companions and make them feel more at home when they were relaxing in their new American or Australian home. But generally, human beings have thought of sparrows as being a pest. No one has taken this idea more to the extreme than Mao Zedong, the chairman of the People's Republic of China. So in 1958, Chairman Mao decided to rid China of pestilence and disease. You know this story isn't going to end well, do you? He launched a campaign called the Four Pests Campaign. He identified the 4 pests that were making the country dirty. Mosquitoes that spread malaria, rodents that spread the plague, flies which were filthy, and tree sparrows. So Chairman Mao had calculated that each tree sparrow ate about 4.5 kilograms of grain every year, and if they killed 1 million sparrows, tree sparrows, that would save enough food for 60,000 people. So Chairman Mao instructed the people of China to get onto their streets with pots and pans and anything else they could find and bang them and make a horrible noise and scare the sparrows away. And there were all kinds of different methods people used to get rid of sparrows. Awful. There was poison. People were destroying the eggs. They reckon that in the end, possibly up to 1 billion sparrows were killed. So what happened? Well, crop production increased. There were more crops for everyone to eat. at first. And then something else increased. The amount of insects that ate the crops increased tremendously, and suddenly everyone started listening to a voice which had been talking for quite a long time and no one had listened to him. A bird expert called Sao Xin Cheng had been against the sparrow hunt from the start. He'd done a study and he'd shown that tree sparrows did eat grains, but actually they also fed the insects that ate the grains to their young. So they'd actually been keeping the crop destroying bugs under control. So in 1960, 2 years later, Chairman Mao declared that, okay, actually sparrows are protected now and bed bugs have taken their place on the list of pests. But unfortunately, by that point, 35 million Chinese people had gone hungry. So believe it or not, sparrows in the UK are now actually in decline. In London, numbers of sparrows have fallen 70%, over 70% in the last 25 years. It's taken us a long time to work out what's going on. We think they're catching malaria from an insect which is very, very prevalent at the moment because of climate change, the mosquito. So next time you're bird watching, don't take the boring ones for granted. The end. Whew. That is the end of the bird show. So it's quite a long one, wasn't it? Birds. Quite a big topic, it turns out, if you want to do it properly. And you lot are very passionate about birds, so, you know, we've got to do it properly. Thank you so much for coming. I'll do my little ad, yeah? And then I'll stay around and have a little chat. So my name is Lara. I'm running this science communication business called Theatre of Science. I'm a physics teacher trained to teach people up to A level. Just realised that we didn't do the toilet roll thing. I'll do it after my ad. Stick around if you want to know what the 2 pieces of toilet roll were for. Yeah, so I do a show every single weekend since the start of lockdown. I started doing them and I just do them every weekend. I've just kept going, even through the summer holidays. Probably won't do that. Anyway, yeah, so now people are supporting me monetarily and this is like my job, which I'm just so excited by. I cannot tell you how happy it makes me. I am so fulfilled, you guys. So if you liked that and you want to help me out, you could like my Facebook page, that would be amazing. Or if you really liked it and you want to just consume everything I do, I write this magazine which comes out every 2 months. It's coming, hopefully I'm posting it to my patrons this fortnight. If you go to my Facebook page and you click sign up, it takes you to this website called Patreon where you can support me with £3 or £5 or £10 a month. Kids, I'm not talking to you. This is the adults only. And yeah, there's different thank yous. So there's I send you rainbow glasses or you get this magazine. If you want to go and have a read of that, then many, many thanks. Right, should you do the toilet roll thing? Get to your 2 sheets of toilet roll. You know how toilet roll is quite peelable. Sometimes annoying, isn't it? But do it on purpose now. Peel your toilet roll if you've got 2 sheets. Oh, someone wants to know why flamingos are so tall. Well, don't know. Good question. So you've got 2 sheets of toilet roll, but it's thin, yeah? Now, hold it between your 2 fingers like this. You got that? Thumbs at the back. And put that bit flat. Yeah? You got that? I'm going to spread mine out a bit more, actually. Like that. So you've made a little flat bit at the top and the rest is hanging down. When you blow over that top bit, what's going to happen? All right, Abigail, what's going to happen? Tell me, when I blow across the top of this toilet roll, what's going to happen? What's the toilet roll going to do? Do you know? Let's do it. I'm a bit nervous now. What? Did you get that? Did you work that out? Why is that happening? Why, when you blow on the top, does it move upwards? It's cool, isn't it? It's because it's the same reason, kind of, as if you open a bottle of Coke and it all spills everywhere, because the Coke, the gas inside the Coke, is at very high pressure and the air around it is at low pressure. So the Coke, when it is at high pressure, so it bursts out into the area of low pressure. Stuff moves from high pressure to low pressure, right? And what you're doing when you blow is you're disturbing all this air. You're making the air move very quickly, so it's at a lower pressure, which creates a force. So the higher pressure air under here moves to be in the low pressure area, just like Coke bursts out of a bottle, and that's why that goes up. Now I had to look up on YouTube what the effect of that is called, because I only knew how to spell it because I did an Open University degree and never met anybody, and it's the Bernoulli. I didn't know whether it was Bernoulli effect. But the YouTube video also said that often we say things about the Bernoulli effect when they're not. So, physics, what are you going to do? Go away and do a degree and then come back and tell me if this is the Bernoulli effect or not, but it sounds right to me. Other fun thing is, some birds make noises with their wings, and if you get it at the right angle, you will hear a very weird noise. Can you hear that? There you go. Right, on that slightly light-headed note, that is the end of the bird show. Hello, Hattie and Oscar. Annabelle asks, if humans had hollow bones, could they fly? Oh, Annabelle, that is such a good question. Thank you. I don't think so. I did read into humans flying, and it said that humans are so heavy and big that there's a coltit on the tree outside, it's nice. That the size of the wings that humans would need to get them into the sky would be so big that the wings alone would be too heavy to enable you to fly. Does that make sense? Like, you get heavier, you get heavier obviously as you grow, but you don't get stronger to the same amount. So like by the time you're an adult, you're more heavy than you are strong. That's why a 6-year-old can probably do like more press-ups than a grown-up, because they've just got they've got a different like weight to strength ratio, if that makes sense. Very good question, Annabelle. Can you have a shout out? Yeah, definitely. Oh, Karen, you dissected an owl pellet and found